The Ozark Natural Science Center has been operating in Bear Hollow since 1991, but we weren't the first ones to step foot out here. So let's rewind the clock and take a look back at the history of the place that we now call the Ozark Natural Science Center. Archaeological evidence indicates that humans first arrived in the Ozarks about 15,000 years ago, close to the end of the last ice age. At that time, the Earth's climate was much different than it is today. The Ozarks were much colder and wetter, and the hills were covered with species of spruce and pines that today are normally found much further to the north. However, the first humans to visit this region did not stay in one place. Instead, they moved throughout the Ozarks, pursuing large game animals such as mastodons and smaller game such as antelope and squirrels. Over the following 2,000 years, the climate became warmer and drier, and felt much closer to what we experience here today. The large Ice Age animals became extinct, and the spruce and pine trees gave way to the oak hickory forest that we see here today. These changes led to a new way of life for prehistoric humans in the Ozarks, as their diet began to include more plants, nuts, berries, small game, and fish. Over the centuries that followed, different tribes called the Ozarks home, including the Caddo, the Quapaw, and the Osage. The Osage were semi-nomadic with a lifestyle based on a combination of gardening, hunting, and foraging. In fact, throughout the 1700s, a large tract of land that includes what is now northwest Arkansas was used by the Osage as their hunting grounds. They hunted bison, deer, elk, bear, and smaller game, gathered wild plants for food, and had gardens of corn, bean, squash, and pumpkins. By the early 20th century, a man by the name of James Martin was homesteading in Bear Hollow, living in a log house that he built for himself. This log house was later occupied by Marion and Kate Rookerd, who purchased the property from Kate's brother Clarence Sutherland in 1914. The Rookerds raised cattle and sheep on the property. In a field east of the log house, Mr. Rookerd grew turnips that he fed to cows in the wintertime. The family had a vegetable garden across the spring branch from the house. Kate also taught at the Rock House School. Later, in the late 1930s, the Rookerds built what is now called the Rookerd House. The Rookerd House is located on ONSC's Old Farm Loop Trail. Marion felled timber on the property and hauled the logs to a local sawmill, where they were milled into lumber and used to build the house. When he built the house, Marion installed a marble floor on the front porch, having brought it in with the wagon. He also installed a 100-gallon water tank in the attic of the house and used a hydraulic ramp that he installed in a nearby spring to pump the water up the hill and into the tank. Not only that, but the house was wired for electric lights and a battery system. Kate Rookerd had a niece, Lorene Yarborough, who was married to Lee Yarborough. They moved into a house that we now call the Yarborough House. The Yarboroughs didn't live there for long, having moved away after about a year. But their house is still standing, and you can find it on the Creekside Trail here at ONSC. Eventually, the Rookerds sold their farm and moved to California. The property was purchased by Elmer Sievert, a doctor from Chicago, in 1953. At some point, the Rookerd house was vandalized. Trespassers broke windows, and as a result, rain and moisture caused the floors to decay. The floor structure is now unsafe for entry by visitors to ONSC. Included among the artifacts that have been removed from the property over the years is the marble floor that once sat on the front porch. The original log house built by Mr. Martin has since collapsed. You can find the ruins along the Old Farm Loop Trail just uphill from the Rookerd House. Later, Dr. L.D. Thomas of Springdale purchased the land that was eventually donated to the Arkansas Natural Heritage Commission for use by the Ozark Natural Science Center. Today, this land is called Bear Hollow Natural Area. Beginning in 1989, a small group of folks, guided by Ken and Ruann Ewing of Rogers, started meeting to develop a concept for a residential field science education center located in the Arkansas Ozarks. These early planning sessions resulted in the formation of the Ozark Natural Science Center as a nonprofit environmental education and conference facility. In 1992, the center hosted its first residential field science education program, and the rest is history.